Welcome to Dark Docent. My name is Jake. Join me as I guide my friend James down the paranormal rabbit hole, attempting to prove the authenticity of a new case each week. Today's case: the Kelly Hopkinsville Goblins. Try to give this a go.
You know what? I'm having a lot of fun just looking at these products.
I'm sorry that's not what our podcast is about.
You know, I sent this to the chat way back in the day. It was a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
I was using Wish. One of the advertisements for a product, it was like a cat gimp mask.
I think I remember that.
And it was not a gimp mask for a person like a cat. It was a gimp mask for your cat.
Yeah, no.
It was a leather mask with no eye holes to put on your cat.
What would you do? How are you doing today, James?
I'm pretty tired, Jake. How are you?
I'm also really tired. I am...
Life of the working man, hey?
Exactly. It's just now it's summertime, so it's twice as draining. But that's okay. We get through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The winter is draining because it's cold, and the spring is draining because it's just weirdly hot all of a sudden.
Do you think it's like a life problem, or?
Yeah, I do. You know?
Is this
all winter you wait for summer, then you're like, damn, it's hot. It could be winter anytime now.
Your seasonal depression is over, and now it's time for your regular depression.
Regular depression now.
Perfect. Awesome. I can't wait. It's my favorite time of year.
I no longer have an excuse. Winter's over.
Now I just hate everything because it is here.
But you know what I don't hate?
What's that?
Talking about cool cryptid stuff with my buddy Jake.
I don't believe one word of that sentence, but I'm glad you said it.
I meant every word of it.
I got a story for you, bud.
Do you know?
August 21st, 1955, Christian County, Kentucky. We are on the Sutton family farm, the home to Glennie Langford and her children. She has 3 young children, Lonnie, Charlton, and Mary. She has 2 older sons, Elmer, also known as Lucky, and his brother J.C. Sutton. They both have wives, Vera and Eileen, Eileen's brother, Opie Baker, and family friends Billy Ray Taylor and his wife June. They're having a family get-together. It's a Sunday night. Kids are playing, the adults are playing cards, and it's a simpler time. This is middle of the boons, Kentucky. This house is bare bones. It's got no radio, no TV, no running water, but they make the best of it. As the night goes on, at around 7 o'clock, Billy Ray decides to go get some more water from the well. And then he sees something streaking down from the sky. He claims that it was a large shining object coming down, and it had a rainbow stream coming from it. But it appeared to slow down and land behind a tree line behind the farm. Now, Billy Ray Taylor, freaked out from what he saw, runs back into the house, bursts through the door, tells everyone that he just saw a flying saucer land in the farm. Something you should know about Billy Ray Taylor?
Mm-hmm.
He's a prankster. He's a known exaggerator, storyteller, whatever you want to say. I know the type. I'm sure you do as well.
Yep.
So, initially, the family, they blow it right off. Like, okay, Billy Ray, sure. Whatever you say. There's a flying saucer in the fields. Billy Ray looked pretty dejected by this and just kind of left it. It was fine.
Just left it.
Yeah, it's like, he's like, well, whatever, they're not going to believe me. Maybe nothing of it. It's fine. Well, about an hour later, the family dog starts barking outside. Billy Ray Taylor and Lucky went outside to investigate. When they went outside, the dog ran back and hid underneath the porch. looking out into the woods, they see a small glowing object that's slowly approaching the farm. As it gets closer, it is a small humanoid creature.
That's glowing?
That's glowing. It's got like a white gleam to it. It has its hands raised as if it is surrendering. The creature was described as 3 to 4 feet tall, with large glowing eyes, a thin mouth, large ears, clawed hands, and short legs. Lucky and Billy Ray stormed right back into the house, and they began loading up the guns. Billy Ray had a rifle, and Lucky Sutton had a 12-gauge shotgun. They tell them to get the kids to the bedrooms. They're moving the kids along. They don't know what's happening. They turn all the lights off inside the house. Meanwhile, the whole family does not know what's going on. They're like, is Lucky in on this prank now? Like, they think that this is just a big gag, right? Honestly, in this situation, you'd probably think the same thing.
You know, if I didn't see it myself, I wouldn't know what to think if everyone was... I'd probably try to get a peek.
You know what? I'm in your boat too. I would probably also get a peek.
Gotta know what the hype's about.
As they turn all the lights off, Billy Ray goes to the back door and aims his rifle out the back, while Lucky Sutton goes to the front door with his shotgun. Now, to give you more of an idea of the house, it's summertime.
Right.
All the doors and windows are open, and they're closed with like screen doors, screen windows. So they've all got that everywhere, mesh everywhere. Lenny Langford, being curious, stepped out of the room and was asking Billy Ray, what did they see? What's going on? What's so happening? Well, as she did that, she noticed the creature walking to the back door and pressing its hand nearly on the screen. She fell back and screamed, and Billy Ray shot the creature. Apparently hit the creature and flung backflip style into the darkness. This alarmed Lucky Sutton. He went back with his shotgun, trying to look out, see what the creature was. It was gone. They said that when they hit the creature, it made like a ting noise, like something hitting metal and ricocheting off.
Right.
Like the old school sort of thing. After hitting the creature, Lucky Sutton was staying at the door. Billy Ray went outside to see if he hit the creature. He slowly opens the back door, and as he steps outside, a massive clawed hand rings down from the overhang of the roof, grabbing his hair and pulling it.
A massive clawed hand?
That's what he claimed it as. It's Billy Ray. But a clawed hand came down and grabbed his hair. So he's yelling. His wife grabs him and pulls him back in. Lucky Sutton is alarmed by this, runs right to the back door, hops out the back door, sees the creature, fires at the creature. The creature gets hit, backflips over the house. The same ting noise and backflips, just like the other one that got shot. When they got back inside the house, they began looking around when they saw another creature pressing its hand up against the screen window to the side of the house. Lucky Sutton shot that one clean right through the window. Now, these creatures kept repeating this process of peering through doorways, peering through windows, and they kept firing.
A game of whack-a-mole.
A game of whack-a-mole. But it seemed like the bullets were having no effect. They'd hit the creatures, they'd flip, and they'd go off into the darkness, scurry away. And they kept making that ricochet noise. They didn't know what to make of it, but they figured, hey, at least these shotguns might hold them off for a bit. Apparently, later in the night, they saw one perched in a tree, shot the creature, and it got hit and flipped and floated down almost like a feather to the ground, to where it got up and ran back into the woods. What would you do in this situation? Your farm's getting raided by these creatures.
Well, if I had ammo, I'd probably keep shooting at that point.
Good plan.
You've made it very clear they're not welcome. So to stop firing would be a bad idea, I would think.
I like your plan. I like the cut of your jib.
You've made your bed, now keep shooting.
You should live by that motto. So this would repeat for the next 4 hours. They fended their farmhouse from these beings.
Well, they assume they fended.
They assume that they fended. They at least postponed what could happen. They kept firing, they were running out of ammo, and they didn't know what to do. They thought the best plan of attack was to make a break for their trucks, go into town,
and leave their family behind?
No, with the family.
Oh, with
everyone hop in the trucks. Everyone get out. We can all run, because there was a small break in the action.
Yeah.
And they assumed, hey, we can run for the trucks, start the trucks, go into town, get the cops. So they do that. They get into the trucks, and they drive at max speed into town. And that's only where the night begins.
Oh, boy.
James, have you heard of the Hopkinsville Goblins?
No, I haven't actually. This is a new one to me.
Okay.
Big fan of goblins, though, so.
Okay. Well, that term is merely because of how they're described.
Right.
This is one of the most famous extraterrestrial encounters in history.
One of the most famous?
Yeah.
Really?
This is the encounter that coined the term Little Green Men.
Could have sworn you said that about the,
Greys.
Oh, those were the Greys, that's right.
Yes.
These
Betty
were-
and Barney Hill coined the gray term,
Right.
but this one coined the
Little Green Men.
Little Green Men. And we'll get into that a bit later down the line. What are you thinking so far about all this?
I think it got very intense very fast.
You'd be right in thinking that. Yep.
What time of day did you say this happened at?
Between 7 and 11 at night.
Between 7 and 11 at night. So it's probably bright enough out until, let's say, 9, 10.
They didn't see the creatures until 8 o'clock. Billy Ray first reported the saucer at 7.
I think that was I mean, maybe it was turned out to be for the best, but weird to just kind of let it go that he saw the saucer go down and not go and actually investigate.
Well, as said before, Billy Ray is a known jokester. Him and his wife were actually carnival workers, believe it or not. And they were on the farm visiting because they didn't have much work at the time. But don't let that sway kind of what you think.
Okay.
This case is interesting because there's a lot of how lots of stereotypes started about alien encounters in this story. This was kind of the basis for all of it. And we'll get into more on why it was so poorly reported on. The Suttons are driving into town. They get to the police station. Behind the desk is Chief Russell Greenwell. He saw the family burst through the doors, screaming and yelling that someone or something had been invading their farm. Now, they didn't really know what to make of this, but the police were like, hey, we don't want to start a shootout here. Let's go up there and investigate. So they lined up all the police. They get into their cars. Some of them rode with the Suttons back to the farm. Now, this was all over the radio that police were going to the Sutton's farm outside around Hopkinsville area. This attracted the attention of some state troopers over the radio and also some military police that showed up at the farm as well. When they were driving back, one of the policemen were in the car with the Suttons. He was looking around at them, trying to take a look at their behavior, trying to smell if there was any, liquor on them, things like that. And they all reported no smell. None of them seemed inebriated. There was no smell of anything, no strong liquor or anything like that. But one of the policemen had a medical background, and he was looking at Billy Ray. And Billy Ray, when he had his head kind of turned, you could see the vein pulsing in his neck. So he decided I could count it and see what his heart rate's at. Maybe because, you can fake being scared or whatever, but
yeah,
see what your heart rate's at. He counted the beats per minute. Billy Ray's heartbeat was at 140 beats per minute. A quote from that officer was, maybe the boy could pretend to be frightened in some ways, but I don't know how he could make his heart beat twice as fast as usual. So there's something. As they approached the farm, the authorities were like, okay, show us where to go, stuff like that. The Suttons refused. They were like, no, we're not going back. You investigate. We're not touching this.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
They're out of their hands now. That's why they got them in the first place.
They are terrified. And honestly, according to some of the police, everyone was kind of scared about what was happening. They don't know what was going on. So they approached the area with caution with the state troopers and the military police. And they did find evidence of a gunfight. All through the house, there was bullet holes. They found shells. There was definite evidence that something had happened. However, they did not find any claw marks, any tracks, anything like that. Although, they did find a strange, luminous substance that was hanging below the fence, kind of on the grass. And it was above where they reported they shot one of the creatures off the fence.
A strange, luminous... what? Sorry?
Substance. It was like they said it was almost like silvery, which kind of matched the description of the creatures.
Yeah.
And they had that glisten to them. That's all they could find, though, and they didn't really know what to make of it. As they were looking, though, to really show the tension of what was going on and everything, one of the policemen stepped on a cat's tail, and the cat screeched, and it caused everyone to lose their shit. A quote from Chief Greenwell was, "You've never seen so many pistols drawn so fast." Apparently all the police are just like something out of like the Matrix or something.
Everyone's a little on edge by the sounds of it.
Oh yeah, well they didn't know what was happening, right?
Yeah, it sounds kind of a wild tale with lots of bullet casings.
Yeah, 100%. So they couldn't find anything. They said, hey, you know what? We'll leave it to it tonight. We'll check back in the morning. The policemen, everyone leaves. The Suttons go back inside. They're getting ready for bed, or at least trying to, I guess. Except the intruders came back. Through the window of the kids' room, one of the creatures put its hand up to the window like this with its glowing eyes. Everyone started screaming, and they shot through the window at the creature, and the gunfight continued for the next few hours.
Next few hours again.
Yes. When the policemen came back the next morning, the family wasn't at the farm. They had left and hid because they were so scared.
No kidding. I wouldn't have tried to go to bed in the first place if I was under attack.
Oh, they were terrified. This was a huge case. It made huge news almost overnight. It went everywhere. So what are you thinking about, like, this situation? I know there's not much evidence.
Yeah.
But, like, the people involved.
All right, so let's start with who saw these creatures.
Lucky Sutton, which is one of Lenny Langford's sons.
Right, Lucky did.
Yeah, J.C. Sutton.
J.C. Sutton saw them.
The wives of them saw them.
Okay.
Billy Ray Taylor saw them. And so did O.P. Baker.
Okay, so quite a few of them saw them.
It was a house of 11 people.
Yeah.
And the only people that claimed to not see it were the 3 young children who were hiding under the bed.
Right.
However, everybody else saw them, including Glennie Langford. And she has a very strong character witness in this case.
And they didn't, I mean, obviously, but I guess they didn't kill any of them despite blowing them back for 7 hours.
They just shot them, defended them off.
And then there was just one bit of substance.
All they could find, other than the bullet holes.
Okay. I'm thinking that's a bit of a wild situation.
It is.
I don't know if it would take me 7 hours to leave at that point, but I guess if you're under constant attack, what can you do?
Yeah, I mean, fear of the unknown in the dark, right? You don't know what these things are going to do.
Yeah. And sorry, hold on. So the police left. Did they never go to look at the spaceship or anything?
No one ever saw the spaceship land except for Billy Ray.
Right, but they didn't go look for it?
No. They were just more focused on the gunfight because they were worried that civilians were getting into a gunfight with possible police.
Yeah, fair enough.
They didn't care about the carney telling them that there was a UFO in the woods.
Yeah, I mean, if someone told me they saw a UFO in the woods, I'd probably be like, sure thing, buddy.
So the next day, this caused national attention, and it attracted almost too much attention. There was news reporters going to the farm, camping out in front of the farm, trespassing on the property. There was even people like putting up concessions in front of the property, trying to sell things, who had no connection to the Sutton family at all.
That was fast.
Very fast. It's like within the coming 2 days, sort of thing.
Family, they're still gone at this point?
No, they're back.
Oh, they're back.
They're back now. When the police came back, they kind of came back and investigated everything. But they were like, they had to leave. They basically waited till daylight, came back. This brings us to an interesting character. A man named Bud Ledwith.
Bud Ledwith.
Yes. So.
Bud Ledwith.
Bud Ledwith.
The man himself.
You gotta say it with a twang. You can't say it without a twang, I don't think. So Bud Ledwith was a radio host and amateur sketch artist. He also had a reporter background. And he actually wasn't supposed to work that day, but he went into the radio station and everyone's talking about these little green men invading a farm.
Where did the green come from? Were they glowing green?
No, what happened is there was really poor reporting done.
Yeah.
On this. All the reporters go to here, they heard all about it, they started writing things down, and they just blew it off and basically wrote up that they were crazy, they were drunk, and reported that they were little green men. No one in news really took this seriously. They just saw it as like, almost like the old version of a clickbait. Also a way to just make the witnesses not seem credible. There was no drinking. There was a couple beer cans found on the property, but Glennie Langford did not allow what she called quote unquote strong spirits in the household. So no shine, no hard liquor.
Mm-hmm.
And where little green men came from is one of the reporters just wrote it up. That's it. So this kind of started the basis of hillbilly redneck kind of guy seeing aliens and shooting them with the gun off the farm and them all being drunk and stuff like that.
If it was only like the two of them that had initially seen it with the guns.
Yes.
I'd think, oh, maybe they were, I don't know, maybe they eat the wrong mushrooms or something. But
I understand, but
there's way too many people to have seen that.
There is 8 corroborating witnesses.
Yeah.
Not including the children. So Bud Ledwith saw this. He was actually there to repair a ham radio, and he heard about this. Some of the people kind of blowing it off, some people reporting it incorrectly, whatever. He decided to go to the house and get a sketch. He's a sketch artist, amateur, but he can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted to make sure that he did not imply any detail on his end, and he wanted to only draw what the witnesses said. And he was very adamant on that. Because of his reporting background, he was really adamant about staying unbiased.
Yeah, you gotta stay credible.
Exactly. So he went to the farm. Glennie Langford sitting on the porch. He sat down, asked for her description of the creatures, started drawing things out. And the thing is that she would correct him. He would go and draw something a little more exaggerated.
Mm-hmm.
And she would say, nope, that's not how it was, and correct him. And this was common. It was like, okay, she's correcting like exaggerated things. So that's a big thing. But the thing is that there was an exaggerated drawing done as well. And Billy Ray saw the drawing and said, that's it. That's exactly what it was. And I actually have pictures of those drawings for you.
I was just about to ask, so that is great news.
Here is the Kelly Hopkinsville Goblin. This is the one done according to Lenny Langford, and I believe one of the wives was with her on the porch. This is more the down-to-earth photo. Just whatever she described.
You know, I would describe that as a goblin.
Right?
Based purely on the ears, which are very, very large.
Yes. And another interesting thing about this, she told him not to add a nose or a neck because they did not get a good look at that. Which is kind of cool because most of the time, like witnesses that are like unreliable will add something that they haven't seen to make it look more monstrous.
Yeah.
But in this case, she was like, I never saw any definitive nose or any definitive neck. I don't want to add that in to make a false image.
Yeah, so it's like a big round head. The eyes are very far apart, almost on like the very far ends of the face. There's no nose, no neck, like you say. A very large, like wide mouth. Very large ears that protrude like above the head. Big shoulders and small legs and long arms, claws.
Mm-hmm.
Goblin for sure.
Yes. I just find that really interesting how they corrected everything. I'll show you what Billy Ray's version of the creatures were.
Let's see what Billy Ray said.
Okay, this has all of them, including the one where they tried to combine both to see if they could get it. But when Billy Ray grabbed the piece of paper and was like, that's it. Like, that has to be it. They all went, no. Like, they all said, no, Billy Ray is wrong. That is incorrect. That is not a correct drawing. Here's Billy Ray's version of the drawing. Notice the nose and the abs.
You know, other than the nose and the light depiction of abs, it's not that different.
The way that it's different is the scarier parts. Like, the chin is sharper.
Chin is, sharp chin. Mm. The ears stick out a bit more. Kind of like...
almost devilish.
Yeah, I'd say like a bat ears in this case.
That too, yeah.
Large, exaggerated bat ears.
Yeah.
But not terribly different not terribly different.
And here's the thing about that, is that when Billy Ray says, that
nose looks so stupid too.
It does. But when Billy Ray says that's it sort of thing, that's kind of like your typical exaggerator. It's just a little off from the truth.
Kind of like when you get a mint car in the scrap there.
Yeah, mint
car. And I take a look at it and it looks like a scrap car.
Yep. Mint, buddy.
It's mint.
Mint is subjective. It all depends on who comes in. Here's how many people give me rust buckets and say it's mint.
It's all scrap to you.
That's my motto. No matter what it is, I can make a square out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these are pretty good witness drawings. This also attracted some guys that we like to see on these alien cases. Project Blue Book. Mm-hmm.
Project Blue Book.
Project Blue Book's involved. Usually there's something to it.
Let me guess. Swamp gas.
Close.
Weather balloon.
This is actually one of the most ridiculous explanations I've ever seen for a UFO case.
Bunch of miniature Jupiters.
After Project Blue Book done their investigation and skeptics also took their opportunity to say what they thought, they claimed that these creatures were misidentified owls. As a result of heightened excitement, the witnesses shot for 4 hours.
If I was an owl flying out a window and there were bullets flying, I'd probably be buzzing around a bit. I don't think I'd stick around for 7 hours, though.
No.
You know what? I've also never seen a flock of owls, I don't think.
There isn't a flock of owls. And that's another thing about the reporting of this case. The case constantly exaggerated how many creatures were on the farm, how many soldiers went to investigate the farm, how many people were on the farm, all of that. They said that it was like an army of 20 plus goblins attacking the farm. But the family argued and said, no, we only ever saw 2 at a time. There was not an army. There was nothing like that. So they tried to correct them, but they just blew them off.
Mm-hmm.
They also claimed that alcohol was a large part of this, which it was not. We have proved that. The cops said no, it was not. Now, Glennie Langford also made a statement about how she saw the creature after the police left come up to the screen window, and she just watched it when she was sitting in the dark. She claimed that she was sitting in a rocking chair beside the fireplace, and beside the fireplace was the window. And she said one of the creatures came up to the window and looked at her through the window. When they asked her, how close was it to you? She said it was close enough that it put its hand up against the screen and she could see the screen indent in towards her. Glennie Langford is a no-nonsense Christian woman. And she had actually 2 other sons that lived in Hopkinsville. And initially when they heard the story, they threw it off. Like, no, this didn't happen. It's not real. Whatever. It's probably Billy Ray telling stories, whatever. When they heard that Glennie Langford, their mother, was on the farm, their demeanor completely changed. And they said, quote, if mama saw it, it was there.
The mama's boys.
Hey, they agreed. They thought it was a joke too. What are you thinking about all this? I know there's a lot of character witnesses and stuff like that. There's a lot of hearsay and witness testimony in this case. What do you make of all this? I know there's not much evidence, but people sometimes are evidence and the character of them.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I can't really, I don't buy the owl thing. I don't think it was owls.
No.
I don't really know what to think yet. There's just a lot of stuff going on. Lots of hearsay, of course, but that's from people that weren't there. But then you have the discrepancy between Bill Ray and then the rest of the family.
Yeah.
Did they ever photograph that silvery substance?
No.
No one tested it? It's just there it is, and there it goes.
Well, what testing could they do?
I don't know.
It's 1955 in rural Kentucky.
They could have done something. I don't know.
They didn't know what to make of it. I think the cops and the people there were just as scared as the family. I don't think they were focused on getting evidence at that time. I think they were frightened as well.
Bunch of crazy locals making up a story.
Here's the thing, is that you can say it's crazy locals, and the reporters can say, oh, it's an owl. But what you can't argue with is corroborating story with a whole town.
A whole town. Uh-oh. That's
a bit of an exaggeration, but it was a small town. People did report something flying over the skies of Kelly, Kentucky. Lots of people around the area did report what sounded like a war going on in the hills.
That would probably be the gunshots.
Yes. Some reported that it sounded like a couple fireworks. Some reported that it sounded like a full-on war. I think it also depended on where you were compared to the farm.
Right, but there's no doubt that they were shooting.
Yes. And including actually one of the people who witnessed the saucer, It was an entire restaurant full of people that all said they saw the saucer.
An entire restaurant.
Yes, it was just up the road from the farm. They all stated they saw it, and that corroborated the entire family's witness. So we got a lot of people with them on this. Another part that makes me feel a little more like something happened, other than the emotions of the people, is Project Blue Book said that this is one of the least extraordinary cases they'd ever come across. But Project Blue Book was also in charge of just saying, no, this is all fake, right?
Yeah.
That's their job. Their whole job is to make it sound like this is all hoopla. And they went with the story that it was a bunch of drunk Kentucky people that shot owls. Project Blue Book went with that.
Hey, if I wasn't from Kentucky, I'd probably buy it.
You were right. And most of the country did. And this is what started the stereotype of country bumpkins shooting at nothing.
Bunch of hicks shooting at the owls.
Exactly.
Can I say hick on here?
Yeah.
Sorry to all the hicks.
Unfortunately, it wasn't the happiest ending. After this, Billy Ray and his family, they kept going because they were in the carnival. They didn't stick around for any monetary gain or anything like that. They had to keep working. However, Glennie Langford was unhappy with all the concessions and the news reporters and everyone trespassing on her farm. So she decided to put a sign in the front of her gates of her farm, merely to deter people, that said $1 entry fee. She thought, people would see the pay and they would just be like, oh, well, we're not going to go on the farm then. We don't have to pay $1.
Yeah, $1 wasn't nothing back then.
The issue is people saw that and instantly assumed that they were hoaxers. word got right around town real fast. These guys are dirty crooks. They're hoaxers. They did it just to make money. And this actually caused the Suttons to move. They left town, never to return.
The end?
Yeah, that was it. Nothing else came of this.
Really?
Yeah. And actually, over 20 years later, Glennie Langford did another interview, and she stuck to her story. And she even corrected the interviewer who got some of the stuff wrong from the bad reporting that had come out. Her sons stuck with the story. No one ever changed the story. They said it all happened. Even her kids that were still alive today still say it happened. They remember it. They remember having to hide from whatever they were shooting at on the farm. I don't know what to make of this. I think there's a lot of very good witness testimony.
Right. It's too bad no one ever investigated where the alleged flying saucer landed.
Oh, they did.
Oh,
I forgot about
did
that.
they?
Yes. Now here's the thing. Billy Ray said that the saucer landed in like the gully outside the farm. That wasn't possible. Where the saucer would have landed would be behind a tree line.
Mm-hmm.
So he would have never seen where it could have landed. They investigated the gullies nearby and found no evidence. And lots of people now think that that's because Billy Ray's testimony was incorrect and they looked in the wrong areas. But again, Billy Ray's testimony has been argued with and corrected by the family several times.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. This is a strange one. It's kind of a serious one because this is like one of the bigger cases.
Yeah. I don't know what to think about it either. Because there's a lot of people that said they saw it. There's a lot of shooting, and I don't know, presumably you wouldn't just start blowing out the windows and the doors over nothing. Billy Ray may have been a bit of a bullshitter, but was the rest of the family? It doesn't sound like it.
No, not at all. Their character witnesses were solid.
Heartbeat was beating fast. Just lacking the solid stuff. There was one bit of substance left, and that's where that left off.
Mm-hmm.
And not a lot else other than that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Cool drawings. They, other than the stupid nose, they matched up pretty well.
Yeah. When I was a kid, this story haunted me. Absolutely haunted me. And it's because my dad used to have this massive UFO book. And it was like this big black textbook with like stars in it. It had blue writing on it. It said UFOs on it. And I always tried to open it up and there's like, you ever have like a sadistic interest or like fear interest, like you're afraid of it, but you want to learn more about something.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I really wanted to read about it, but I was like, I'm terrified of aliens and UFOs. But I was like, every time my mom looked away, I tried to sneak the book. And I snuck the book and I was trying to get through page and page and page and I'm trying to step up. And I was like, you know what? This isn't that bad. This isn't that bad. Until I flipped to one page. And it was a centerfold almost.
Yeah.
Of an illustrated version of what happened at Hopkinsville. And I slammed the book closed and threw it back on the bookshelf and I never opened that book again. It terrified me. I had never been so scared in my life.
They were very creepy drawings. Like,
I'll show you the artist renditions. They're creepier. So the artist renditions, they go nuts with it, but they do kind of go with what they saw.
Now I will say, those are prey eyes, not predator eyes. They're on the sides of the head, and they got really big ears. I only have Earth evolution to go off of, if you even believe in that. But big ears and eyes on the side of your head, that's pretty prey-like.
Hey, you know what? It's true. And the thing is that they didn't seem like that malicious. Yeah. They seem more curious.
Well, I guess big ears aren't necessarily a prey thing, but the eyes on the side of the head.
Yeah, but I like the thing is that lots of people say like they didn't seem malicious.
No,
they seemed more curious. Like they seemed to walk up. They had their hands raised.
They got big claws, but they didn't even leave a mark in the screen windows.
No, all the marks were done by the guns.
Maybe one hair grab, but can't blame a guy for grabbing some nice hair.
Yeah, but look at little kids. Like they always go for the hair first.
Yeah, it's the easiest thing to pull on, really.
Yeah, like that's what I thought. Is like I
hey, I'm up here. Look at me.
Yeah, like I think they're just curious. To me, it just sounds like they were curious.
And metallic? Ting! You shooting them? They're doing backflips?
Yeah, and they're
not bleeding?
And they're seemingly like defying gravity in the way they float down like feathers almost when they touch the ground.
So they're metal, they're defying gravity.
They're weird.
They're prey. They're weird.
Mm-hmm.
They glow in the dark. Did anyone see the spaceship fly away?
No.
Well, that only really leaves owls, I guess.
Here's that illustration that scared me as a kid. I thought that was the scariest photo I had ever seen in my life. I was also 4 years old, but it was terrifying to me.
Yeah, depicts about 6 aliens in that.
Yes, but they would also say that would be incorrect.
Yeah.
They've said this several times.
No more than 2 at a time.
No more than 2 at a time. So there's nothing that proved that there was more than 2.
Did they say what color the eyes were glowing at all?
Yellow.
Yellow? Yeah.
Yeah. Like a glowing yellow eyes. So that may have ended the case there. It was just a one night in Kelly Hopkinsville, but the culture around the Hopkinsville Goblins lasted for a long time. And it actually inspired several things in our current pop culture.
Tell me about it.
So, the most famous thing in pop culture that the Hopkinsville Goblins inspired was the Pokemon Sableye.
Yeah, I can kind of see it.
It was entirely based on the Hopkinsville Goblins.
Huh.
Because the Hopkinsville Goblins are actually really popular in Japan.
Go figure, eh?
It's one of the few like American folklore that went over to Japan instead of the opposite way.
Cute enough to be a Pokemon.
It is cute enough to be a Pokemon. And it's got the big glowing eyes and everything like that.
You know, I've always liked Sableye.
Yeah, it's totally based on
the Goblins.
The Goblins. I'll show you a comparison side by side if you'd like. So here's like an artist rendition of the Goblins, and here's Sableye.
What an awful rendition.
It is an awful rendition. But even if you take like the original.
But yeah, look, there's another one here I clicked on with the original
there you
sketch.
Go. Yeah.
Without the nose, and it, gems aside, matches up fairly well, I would think.
Yeah. I think it was just the gems were a big part of it because of the reflective eyes, the glowing eyes.
Yeah, and they got a really weird shape to them.
Yes, very much so.
Very, they're protruding, I will say.
Yeah.
Bugging out, even.
Mm-hmm. And also, the Hopkinsville Goblins were also in, or at least the idea of the situation of this encounter, were in one of the Zelda games, Majora's Mask.
Oh, I've not played that one.
There's a mission where you're defending a farm from an alien invasion. And it's just like the Hopkinsville encounter.
Really?
Except the aliens themselves are actually based on a different encounter that happened that same year called the Flatwoods Monster. So, but those are two very popular alien encounters that happened the same year. So they kind of took the Flatwoods Monster and put it in the Hopkinsville encounter.
Right.
Yeah.
Huh.
But yeah, so the Hopkinsville Goblins, they still last to this day. They're still a really popular alien encounter and just a paranormal encounter overall. Do you want to go to conclusions?
Well, I think we may as well get to conclusions if there's not a lot else to say.
There isn't that much else to say. Okay, so for the case of the Kelly Hopkinsville Goblins, we've got 8 corroborating witnesses. We have townsfolk who also corroborated seeing something in the sky and hearing a war going on in the hills. We have the police officer talking about Billy Ray's BPM. We've got Project Blue Book being involved. We've got the strange silvery substance that was found at the scene.
And left at the scene.
But it was stated that it was found by the police. We have the very credible witnesses, and we have the very credible sketch artist who did not imply anything and kept unbiased to get the most pristine photo. So with all of this, what do you think about the Kelly Hopkinsville encounter? How do you believe it? What do you think? 1 to 5.
Now, before I give an answer, has there been anything remotely similar anywhere else ever? Or is this a one-off alien in a one-off location?
I believe it's a one-off alien in a one-off location. But the thing is about that, everyone's going to describe something a bit different. You know what I mean? So like someone in Europe seeing these might describe it a little different than someone in Kentucky. Because, you're just kind of comparing something with something you know.
Yeah.
The only thing I can compare it to is goblins. Like ancient fae and lore of goblins. They're mischievous. They're short. They got the pointy ears.
The UFO kind of throws that.
Yes, I know. But what
throws a wrench into that.
What I'm saying is, what if
goblins were aliens?
That's what I'm curious about. That's what I can think about is these strange otherworldly beings. But I also think there is some credence to the story because known hoaxes that have been found they make everything sound so much more monstrous, you know? Like, then they draw it, they'll make it look scary. They'll add some teeth.
It did look kind of scary.
It was a little scary, but it wasn't like going like having its hands up with its teeth bar.
There were no fangs, the claws were not up.
It just looked like if almost as if the creature was in a police lineup.
Yeah.
Which I liked. And I think there's something to that. I really think there is.
The weirdest game of whack-a-mole ever played.
Yeah. It's like extreme whack-a-mole, but with shotguns. And I think there is, just because it's a one-off story doesn't mean it takes anything away from it. In fact, I think it actually helps because our universe is so huge. Who knows what could have landed here, you know?
Just another stop for the alien tourists.
You don't know. You don't know what the story was.
I didn't see them. I didn't hear the shootout.
Yeah.
I wasn't even born back then, I think.
You may or may have not been born in 1955.
I'm getting up there. 55, 96, who's counting?
So from my point of view, I think with the corroborating police statements, they didn't say they were lying, they didn't smell booze on them. The family with really good witnesses, everything around this case, I think it's a 5.
I know you think it's a 5. Your first impression of this was at 4 or 5 years old.
I know I'm a believer, but I need something.
A 5.
Yes.
You can't believe that more. That is a perfect 5 out of 5.
I mean that I'm a believer of this sort of subjects, like paranormal stuff. I think it's interesting. I'm open-minded to hearing what people have to say.
Yeah.
But I need something that tangible to make me believe that something happened. And to me,
just a family of witnesses was tangible enough for a perfect 5?
To me, because of their character witness.
Right.
If people outside of them said that they were terrible people and they were liars, then it would be, no, it's a hoax.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll give you an example of something outside of this.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of the Enfield Horror?
No.
It is a famous haunting in the early 80s in England.
Haunting.
Yes. Now, it's one of the most famous ones. In my opinion, it's a complete farce. Absolute hoax. And the reason I think that is because the kids are involved, and you can see the kids on the couch in interviews giggling and whispering to each other about it. And there's actually one part where one of the kids fucks something up and goes, "Oh, wait, no, not like that." And the other kid kind of goes, "Quit it." Like they're about to say something that they shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Like the kids are in on it. And kids are terrible liars.
Kids are bad at lying.
But there was children here that still corroborate that something happened that night.
Well, the children underneath the bed that heard gunshots.
They heard gunshots.
Everyone heard gunshots.
Everybody heard gunshots. Yes, but
the 1950s, it's nighttime. There's not a lot else to hear. It's probably flat over there.
Well, yes, but the thing is, they heard gunshots. They saw people in a panic, but they also know their family well. And even they were talking about in an older age, like, yeah, Billy Ray was a guy who would exaggerate and joke around and prank you, but not Mama Langford. She would not do that. She was straight-laced Christian woman, did not lie, did not drink. And as her other 2 sons who were older in town said, if Mama saw it, then it was there. And I think that's one of the strongest points of that. You can usually catch a hoaxer pretty easy if you dig into it. And to this day, there's been nothing to prove a hoax. And there's been nothing. I think the owl theory is a joke. And I think the fact that Project Blue Book got involved is a big part of it. And the fact that the kids to this day still haven't said anything, like said still corroborate to their story, then I believe it happened. I understood this was going to be a tough one with you because of the lack of real evidence.
Yep.
But I think there's something to say about people.
You know, in terms of spooky shit, hauntings, ghosts, those are bottom of the barrel. I don't believe them at all. Cryptids, you know, they're above ghosts and hauntings, and then aliens are on the upper end of what I think might kind of potentially be possible.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to just outright dismiss it.
Mm-hmm. What's the big thing that's keeping you from, like, what's the part that's bothering you the most about the case?
Lack of anything beyond witness testimony.
And gunshots.
I mean, the gunshots, they're just...
No, I want to...
People shoot guns.
Now, here's the thing. What are the motives?
$1 per person per entry.
No, but that was from Glennie Langford, who said she wanted to deter them.
These are what, circus people? Carnival clowns?
There was 2 carnies in the family.
2 carnies in the family. And there's like, what, 30 people living in that house?
There was...
Money must be tight.
Okay, so money is not necessarily the tightest, but the thing is that They wouldn't do that sort of thing. Like, guys were there. It's not, they didn't all live there.
Yeah.
They
One of the biggest things is like, what's the motive? What's the motive? No one's ever doing it for money,
Mhm.
but the money, maybe not necessarily in this case, but the money does seem to follow sometimes.
So usually with cases
That is a motive. That is a very real motive for people.
it is. But the thing is
If
that
you're a carny, do you even have a reputation to destroy?
here's the thing: is that lots of these guys are blue collar guys. They were gonna go back to get carnival work and stuff like that, but this ruined their reputations. Lots of the people who were in this didn't get jobs again. These people, like, they didn't. It was not a happy ending for these people, and they didn't want it to happen. They adamantly said that we didn't want this to happen. If you wanted any monetary gain from it, wouldn't you stay on the farm? All the people who didn't live there left and didn't come back. They were gone like the next day. They didn't stick around for the news or anything like that. If there was any monetary gain to it, you would stick around. You would ask for talk shows. You would ask for anything like that. Look at the balloon boy from a few years ago. Those people who said that their kid was caught in the balloon.
Yep, I remember that.
They got all the talk shows. They wanted a reality show. They were trying to sign for a reality show. And they found it was a hoax and it all got to shit. All Glennie Langford wanted was to be left alone. All the kids wanted was to be left alone. The Carney people, the Billy Ray and JC had hard time getting work after this in the carnival. The carnival wouldn't hire them because they said they were crazy because of the bad reporting done, saying there was little green men and they were drunk on moonshine shooting nothing.
Well, I think it's fair to say I am pretty middle of the road here. I think I'll fall on that 3.
Oh, come on. We got to get you up.
There's just not enough to get me above that 3, I don't think.
Like, if you're on the fence, what would it be? You know? Like, I'm curious.
I mean, no one saw the spaceship leave. A couple people saw something go through the sky.
Who would be awake at 4 in the morning, 3 in the morning, when these people are still fighting these creatures?
A lot of people. There's a lot of gunshots going off.
No, this
for
was after.
several hours.
This was after all that. Also, from what we know about UFO travel, things that have come out in Congress, is they don't travel the same way as our planes would travel.
Mm-hmm.
They don't travel like with, wind resistant and all that stuff. They go through like space and time. Things bend around them. More of an interdimensional thing. Don't think of it as a place to a place. Think of it as a click to a dial.
Sure, but then they still landed.
Yes, but it's like if UFOs can blast off at supersonic speeds, no one would even see it. It's beyond our comprehension because it's more of an interdimensional travel than it is traveling through space. I just think we're dealing with something beyond our understanding. And with 8 corroborating witnesses that never went back on their story ever is rare to find, especially like in hoax cases or cases where something like years down the line, deathbed, we saw it in the Loch Ness Monster case. Deathbed, they'll say that it was a hoax. Came out with Loch Ness Monster with the surgeon's photo, which was the most famous cryptid photo of all time, literally. And then on the deathbed, he said, yeah, it was fake. Glennie Langford, still on her deathbed, said no. We saw what we saw.
That's fair enough, but I didn't see it. I saw 2 sketches, one with a stupid nose. I want to believe it, but like I say, it's a one-off alien in a one-off location, one time.
Yep.
Everyone's related to each other. I've never met the family. Maybe I can only speculate. Like,
they're not all related. Billy Ray and his wife were there. They weren't related. They were there just as friends.
Right.
I'm just saying, the more people you get involved in a hoax, the more likely something's going to come out. And
yeah,
nothing
but other than like a friend, they're all family. So like, who's really involved?
I just think the Glennie Langford character witness of how she is, the way she corrected journalists, the way she corrected police when they were making mistakes, the way she corrected the reporter when he was drawing something incorrectly. That's a huge part of it. I just like, this is something where it's like, with cases like this, sometimes when people talk, it means something. And I find that just because there's no real evidence sort of thing being found, there's been things at the scene. Policemen said, no, they looked scared. This was real. How did they look that scared? How did the beats per minute go twice as much than usual on Billy Ray? Guys were genuinely scared. They shot up their house. They weren't that good for money. They were just simple blue-collar farm people. Why would they shoot up their house? And back then, aliens were extremely taboo. As stated, they couldn't get carnival work after. There's a lot to it. And just saying no because there's a lack of evidence is easy to do.
It is easy to do. Wouldn't be a very good skeptic if I just took everything at face value.
No, but don't mix up skepticism with cynicism. Skepticism is a scientific-based estimate. Cynicism is saying no. Cynicism is looking at the Patterson-Gimlin footage with no analysis and saying it's a guy in a suit, compared to a guy who doesn't analyze it and then says it's not.
Yeah.
So I'm giving you everything I got.
I know. And I just, like I say, like I gave you that 3 number because I don't think it's just a no. I don't want to just say no.
Mm-hmm.
But I just have a hard time getting over that hump.
Is it just the lack of tangible evidence?
Kinda, sorta.
I understand that. I knew this was going to be a hard one.
Yeah.
I knew it was. And
I like it. It was a good story.
It's a great story.
I enjoyed it. I liked that drawing. It was a good drawing. I learned the Sableye's origin. That was fun.
Yeah. The way I thought about it is I was curious about this case for a long time.
Yeah.
I've investigated this case on and off for 15 years. And I've been up and down on it.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been kind of gone like this sort of thing. And I've slowly gone up. And it's because of the character witness. It's because of why would they shoot up their house? There was no monetary value to be gained. It was taboo.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
And you did a great job presenting it.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't researched it for the last 22 years.
I know. That's why
I've learned about this an hour ago.
Do you have any questions that I could clarify anything for you? My whole goal for like what I'm doing here is I want to try and prove something to you.
Yeah.
And I understand this one's hard. Is there anything that you want clarified? Because I do all the studying and like the investigation to try to present it to you. So like, is there anything you need help with that you're the most curious about or questioning?
There's no more questions that I can think of off the top of my head that I haven't already kind of poked and prodded about.
Mm-hmm.
I asked about if anyone saw the spaceship leave or if anyone took a photo of the goop, the substance, that sort of thing. Yeah, I apologize, Jake, but I think I just landed on a 3 here. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Like I say, I enjoyed it. I liked it. You did a great job presenting. You painted a nice picture.
So it's not a no, you're just unsure.
It's not a no, I'm just unsure.
You're at least curious about this one.
Definitely curious. I wish there was more.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear more about it.
Yeah.
I'd love to see more than 2 sketches.
Wouldn't we all?
I'm sure they would have liked if there was more to the family. But yeah, unfortunately, that's just where I've landed at. I apologize.
You know what? That's okay.
But I'm sticking to it.
I understand. All right. Final answer?
Final answer, 3.00.
Okay.
Right on that edge.
Ah, man, you're a tough nut to crack.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, I couldn't get James over the fence this week. I got him right to it though. So I'm hoping the more I take you down, the more you might find something a little more curious about all this stuff. Make sure you follow us on Spotify, give us a review, tell us how terrible we're doing, and tell us that James is wrong.
Or just tell me what I've missed or what Jake has missed if he
totally
perhaps missed a piece of information there.
Totally.
I'm always willing to look more into anything here. Nothing I say is set in stone. I'm always willing to hear more.
And if anyone lives in that area and has anything that we haven't seen, we'd love to see it, love to hear about it.
And don't mind the shitty accents we do.
James, any words to the wise?
You're going to shoot at owls, make sure they're not wearing any suits of armor so that you can actually prove it after the fact.
Put that in the fucking textbooks. Love it. All right. Thank you for listening, everybody. We'll see you on the next one.
Thank you. Goodbye.